Do you get sensitive about the fact that people say he'll never take a serious controversy?
Well, I have an answer to that. I said, now, tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, Benny comedian, used his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that?
But you're not...
Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Madman Cafe. It is the 25th of September. Almost the end of the month. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for clicking on this. We really do appreciate it. Several things before we really get into this. Be sure to hit that like button, really important. Share any of our videos, even the live streams on there, and make sure you drop a chat, drop a comment, and subscribe. Very important to this channel and all channels actually out there. One of the subject matters we'll be talking today about. We're here and we ain't going away. We're not going away. That's the main thing to that point. But also, I just want to put to that perspective. Let me just bring it up on here. We do have a merch shop. If you want to go further onto that situation, because we do offer some nice stuff online. And basically, we're offering right now 10% off your purchase. The promo code is VPN10. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, VPN10. If you're interested on there, we have an anti-censorship line going on right now, and basically, some really good shirts. We got shirts, we got mugs, we got stickers, a whole bunch of stuff on there. So when you have a chance, do go check it out. It's shopcuticast.com. And again, thank you very much on that. Well, we got breaking news too. We'll get into that in a minute. But you saw the video a minute ago about Johnny on there, and basically, hope you guys can hear me. Basically, what Johnny said was right on there, and things get lost in translation when what's been going on the last couple of days. We're not going to go too much into it. But basically, the whole Kimmel situation and all that. What's lost in translation is, number one, he's on a major network. Okay, that's number one. Number two, he has a morals clause, and the network has somewhat a morals clause as well with the FCC. Now, most people are pointing on the joke that he made about Donald Trump. That is not what the FCC is talking about. That is not what most people saying that that he should have been taken, that he shouldn't have not been taken off for. What he said afterwards, which in a way it's somewhat a violation of the FCC regulation, which in turn the network could have been fined. Not ripped off the air, but they would have been fined. Most cases, if I did it on a major network, what he did, I'd probably be suspended as well. It's not something to the point where you say, well, it's a freedom of speech issue. And it wasn't a freedom of speech issue. He said something that was incorrect. And if you ever watch The View, what is the one thing they have? They have legal notes. When they say something wrong, the lawyers come out and says, and give them a card and tell them, oh, we got some legal notes. That, puts them to the point where they are absolving themselves, saying, "Yeah, we were wrong. We overstepped our things." What Jimmy Kimmel did was, I don't know if the legal was there or tried to stop him from saying what he's saying, but basically, you to the point that this is why Nexstar and the other broadcast company, Sinclair, are keeping him off the air. One, he didn't apologize. There was nowhere near an apology. Two, Disney bent the knee to the point of a terrorist who tried to take out one of the other stations. That is something that proves that there is something rotten on the left side, which is really bad. But that we're going to leave it to that. And like I said, it's his freedom of speech wasn't implied because it wasn't harmed because he could have gone online. He could have stand in front of another on the news channel station, could have talked about it. Nothing stopped him from going anywhere else and expressing his opinion. Whereas, like we're gonna, you saw the title. Whereas our channels were removed, the channels that were here on YouTube, and then was Twitter, and then there was Facebook, and then people were being just completely wiped off clean off of social media. As we went through another one, wiped again. Another one, wiped. That's the difference when you have a government getting involved. And I know you're going to say, well, Nate the lawyer said this, and and this lawyer said that. Yeah, you can look at it from one perspective, but the perspective you have to look at is what secondly he said and what a network's responsibility, not the FCC yet, it was what a network on there. And then what it is that Jimmy Kimmel doesn't get that fine unless he goes really over the board. The network gets that fine. So we'll end it at that. So breaking news, and I have to bring this up now to that point. Oh yeah, also we might have some people stopping by. I'm not certain on that. Eventually, anybody will show up when they show up. Welcome, on there. But breaking news we have here. Let me just bring it up. This just happened a little while ago. Trump signs an executive order to transfer TikTok to U.S. owners, which that's a good thing, you could say. I still have a mistrust on TikTok. I'm not going to be jumping the gun to go over to TikTok and basically, sign in and put my account on there. But what we're seeing here, and this is what was signed off on, is that TikTok now is basically going to be run by U.S. Executive order. From the executive order, it's going to be run by U.S. investors, about 80%. I think the cost is supposed to be around $14 billion. I think this deal is going to be, and supposedly there's a lot of players on this. Supposedly it's like the Ellisons, which is like Skydance, the Murdochs, Rupert Murdoch, Oracle is supposed to be part of this as well, and this could change things for basically TikTok. But the thing about it is, the most important thing is that it gets uh, in better control in American hands, not under the CCP, where they have control of all of our information. That's one of the reasons why I refuse. I refuse to operate with TikTok. They said, "Well, you'll be making money, this, and that." I said, "At the loss of my information, no, they can keep it. They can really keep it to themselves." Okay, just a minute here. I just want to check. Uh, we were having problems over on Rumble, and we are on. Oh, look at that. We are on Rumble, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just double check. Yes, we are live on Rumble. To those of you who are joining us on Rumble, welcome. I was wondering why it wasn't showing up. I think it's just weird because we're using Restream, and with Restream, you can automatically from the site, you know, schedule the live stream. Some reason it was, and I was wondering. I had scheduled this early in the day, and basically, the live stream was showing up on YouTube, which is normal. And there's another problem with that on YouTube, which I got to resolve on that. But it wasn't showing on Rumble. But for those of you watching on Rumble, welcome on there. You can also chat. I will see your chat in the in my display screen right here. So if you want to drop a chat in there, and I know there are already people in the chat right now on YouTube. You can also drop on there. One thing I do ask is to be careful with your language. Be careful what you want to put across. I'm not going to censor you out there, but the thing about it is, understand the way YouTube has this set up. Sometimes if you say something in particular, it'll either just basically won't. Our moderators will have to click onto it for you if it's appropriate, or basically I might get in trouble on there later on because that has happened. That has happened to a lot of people out there that basically they had something in the chat and oh boy, yeah, it's how can I say that they said the wrong thing, and about 3 months later, they get a strike on their channel. Oh boy. So, how's the weather up here? Well, it looks rainy outside. It's awful. Still a bit murky out there. We're about 75 degrees here on the east coast of NYC. We are located around in the Staten Island region, the Forgotten Borough, as we call it lately. We got the elections coming up, New York elections. Right now, it is up in the air. There was one thing today that came out. I forgot to pull it. I forgot to pull the video on it. But Curtis Sliwa, founder of the Guardian Angels, who's running for mayor also. Basically, had put on the record at the media, had a press conference today that supposedly, ooh, excuse me, supposedly Como was offered money for him to drop out. Now, whether that's true or whether that's false, there's no way of saying, there's proof that it did happen or didn't happen. But it's kind of funny that Maldami, who's also, Zohan, whatever the hell he is, comes out and says, "Yeah, I believe it." He said that's politics for you, on there. But hey, listen, remember back, Hillary Clinton running, and you had Bernie Sanders, and who know, you know, did they drop a couple bucks on Bernie for him to bend over and leave? To that point, that's why he lost a lot of his constituents because that he bent the knee to that point. But a lot of other crazy things going on in New York. Hold on a minute here. Let me just check that. Yeah, okay, we're going good. We are going good. Oh my God, we are going good today. Um, whew. Give me 1 second here as I take a drink of water. Oh, it's fresh water. Mm. Even though I had dinner early, that was one of the things. Did dinner a little early today. Me and the wifey, we had some good Chinese food. You know, there's good Chinese food on Staten Island. We have a couple of good places out here. A little expensive for certain ones. I mean, there are the cheap Chinese. They call the ghetto Chinese restaurants, which are like super cheap. The food is you'll be testing your stomach's affordability on there, how you can handle. But not knocking on some. There was two of them that were good in my neighborhood. that before we moved to this new location that were well worth the price. Yeah, you could tell it was cheap, but it was good food. It was prepared well onto there. But the other place, we went back to one of our older ones, which we haven't used in a long time. Um, what's it called? Empire's House, something like that. And they're a little expensive, but oh man, they make they have Thai food also, and they make some really really good Thai food out there. It's unbelievable. If you ever in New York, try the Chinese food restaurants out here, whether you're in Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, you'll find something really, really good. It's well worth it. On there. Well, any food in New York. What am I saying? Any food in New York City. So, you could find something at any time of the day. You want to have a steak at 3 o'clock in the morning, you will find a doggone coffee shop or restaurant that is open at 3 a.m. in the morning in New York City on there. When I moved to Florida, that was the one thing. Once in a while I could find a place that basically was open very, very late, but most cases everything closed down. Even the McDonald's. I When I lived in Pompano Beach, we had, what was it, a 7-Eleven, a McDonald's, a Miami Subs, and a Checkers. The only thing that would stay open the entire night was the 7-Eleven. The last thing to shut down was the Miami Subs first, and then Checkers afterwards, and or rally, depending on where you are, rallies. Florida is mostly Checkers, and depending on what you wanted to eat, what you were starving for, and if you were coming home sober, it's like on there. But the funny part is that especially on the weekend, McDonald's I mean, was closed after, was it 11 p.m., especially on a weekend, which was kind of weird, and we just couldn't figure out why was that happening. And um, yeah, it just went. But I'll tell you this, now that they've talking to beefing up the menus at 7-Eleven, basically they've got to the point. Back then, they used to make a Cuban sandwich that was that was to die for. They're really good, and they grilled it too. They put it on that little what they call it, the sandwich heater, and just went right down on there. Uh, you know, they had them right there. It was pre-made, refrigerated, and you just took it to the counter. They heated it up, and that's it. Yeah, I had a good one. I mean, there were times, oh God, 1, 2 in the morning. That was the only thing that was open, and basically that's what I got was a Cuban El Cubano sandwich on there. Oh boy. Just adjusting myself. It is. Whoo, boy. Again, but now I'm just getting into the motions once again, to that point. I mean, we used to do this, excuse me, back in the 80s. We used to do live streams. What was it? 4 or 5 times a week. We would have the Monday show, which basically that was the Rabbit T. Rabbit and Friends show. If you haven't seen the Rabbit T. Rabbit and Friends show, look on our channel. We've done tributes to them. We've had to re-edit and remaster some of their stuff, lightly remaster, because it's going to take a lot more work to bring those to date. But if you want to see more of it than what we have on this channel, you can go to Internet Archive. Someone has uploaded pretty much almost every episode available onto the internet. I'm not sure who did it. I Well, actually, I do have a hint, because there are only four of us that has access to the digital files, and also to the actual I think two of us have the original masters. I know that for a fact that When Richard Concepcion passed away, basically everything was had to be taken care of, and luckily the family allowed some of us to you know, take some of the stuff to keep the show going. I mean, we're getting close to what is it, 40 something years um, of the show itself. It finished off at season 35. That's when he passed away. Really good guy on there. But Mondays was the show, was like that 5 p.m. show, and then Friday was the big boys. Literally, we started around about this time, 6 o'clock, 7 around there, and we had multiple shows. Now, when I first started, we had a lot of them. We had the what was it? The Crank Call show. We had the what was it called? Spotlight on Teens. That was with a friend of mine's named David Shifter, who's an actor now. Then we had Stiff Competition. Oh, I forgot. I forgot one day. Thursday was the other one. That totally forgot. Thursdays was the Vol show. You can catch a little bit of the Vol show or what's left of it on YouTube also. They do have a channel they shared with somebody else on there. And you can catch that as well. And yeah, we had that Spotlight on Teens, Stiff Competition, and I forgot what the other show was. But we all shared it together, and we all worked just like we see Nerdrotic and Culture Casino, this channel, Sci-Fi Stuff, and we all share each other's channels and bring each other on their channels. This is what we were doing in public access back in the day. And with public access, um, if you're familiar with that from New York, I know PB. I don't know if PB's in the chat yet, but he would know also that we had. Oh yeah, PB was from Queens. That's what I remember because they had QVs. But in Manhattan, we had Manhattan Cable TV, CD and J. Was it Channel C, Channel D, Channel J? C and D were mostly public access, which they changed now. If you ever want to see some of it, you should be able to access it. Let me double check here because you should be able to still access it. Let me see, mnn.org. Oh yeah, that's still available. They are still available. If you want to watch them live, it's Manhattan Neighborhood Network .org. It's mnn.org. You can go to that site. Actually, you can donate to them too. They're still producing TV shows out of New York City. I don't think any of the original producers are still there anymore. People that worked on our end in the 1980s. A lot of them are retired. CD, and then J was lease access. And I've talked about this before. Lease access had all the adult material, all the porn. No, actually, see, the reason why the adult stuff was over on J is because you were able to advertise. C and D, you were not allowed to advertise. It was literally open to anyone. You could make your own show. Now there were a couple of ways you could have done it. One way is sit in your house if you had the equipment. And remember, in 1980s, you know, video cameras were, it could cost you a bit. And the thing about it is, they would of course, they were just coming in toward the end of the 80s. The units that you were able to put the VHS into the camera itself, but mostly everything was you had a camera deck, the VHS deck off to the side, and you hook the camera to the VHS deck, and then that's what you camera. That's what we used to do on stream. We didn't do live streams, but we shot stuff on location that way. And you know, it just, oh God, memories were wild times on there. Ooh, excuse me. But the other way was if you went out and there were multiple places you could have done this. there were studios for hire throughout the city of New York. And if you were getting a show uh, from Manhattan Cable TV, they would give you a list. They said you can go here, you can go there. At the time, and the reason why it was popular was the studios that we were working out that back then. That was ETC Studios, Metro Access Studios, which is now defunct, pretty much. I don't know. I think. Wait, is he trying to bring it? I don't know if he was trying to bring it back because I know he was doing UHF for one point. But basically, Metro Access ETC was next door. Was like two doors over from Manhattan Cable TV, and it was the building that you went in. Basically, if you had any interaction with the cable company as far as your show, or basically you want to pay your bill. Also, that was a different floor. You went to this particular building. It was 120 East 28, 23rd. They've moved since then, but you go up there, you drop off. Like if you did it yourself. In other words, if you filmed it yourself and you edited it yourself, and yeah, there was ways of editing it without having an editor. It was like, pause and record, of course, on there. And you put to the point that you said, well, where do I take the tapes if I want to get them air? There was one floor which was the tape room, and you would fill out this card. It would say what show it on. You give your information, and you give it to them, and basically they would have someone quality control check, make sure everything was. But you had here was the thing. Here was the big thing. The big trouble on that was basically they only accepted two formats for broadcast. VHS wasn't one of them. And you say, well, man, how you get if VHS was like the dominant thing? Well, the thing was the only reason it was dominated because basically there was a lot of VHS companies that had VHS machines out. They accepted beta. Yes, that's right. They accepted beta. Goes to show you how the importance of beta at that time period, or 3/4 inch U-matic. 3/4 inch U-matic, if you're not familiar with that, is basically the broadcast tape. So you had the 1 inch reels, and then you had 3/4 inch U-matic, and then later on you had Betacam, which is not the same as beta in a way. The technology was similar, but the Betacam was a larger cassette onto there, and you pop it in. The quality was better. Most of the industry had flipped into the Betacam at one point, but those were the only two formats you were able to use. Now, there's a funny story about that with 3/4 U-matic. Back right as video stores were being built, like they were just starting to get into play. This was like late 70s and all that. Right before that, there was a couple places in New York City that you were able to get bootleg movies. VHS was just about to be barely out at that point. Mostly what these particular stores put their movies on was on 3/4 U-matic. Now, you might say, "Well, okay, that's fine, Danny. You have a big cassette. You might have to get the machine." The machines weren't cheap; they were expensive. The second part of it, the maximum amount of tape time that you were able to put on these tapes was 60 minutes. It's like you can get down as low as like, what is it, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and 60-minute tapes. That's it. So if you had a full length movie that was like 90 minutes long, you would have to use the 60 and a 30. So guys would be selling them with those big U-matic tapes onto there with those who could afford it or could afford the machines. The machines were thousands of dollars, to the point at that, in that situation. So what could you do to get on that? Well, you either go out and get a beta machine, or you would pay the studios to transfer them to you. The studios, what I was telling you, Metro Access did it for people on there. A couple of others. Now, when it comes to the studios, when you're doing the live feeds, for public access, it's similar to like right now we're talking. We are talking together here. You're watching me, and it's let's see. You would pay them a certain fee, and they would give you, depending on what you want. If you wanted a 2 camera shoot, stage set, of course, the director equipment and all that. And if you, for example, needed people, it was a certain price. If you didn't need the people and you had your own people, you could bring your own people, or you can get volunteers. Like, if you know people that double other shows, uh, which that's what we were doing. We were working on other shows, and we would help each other's shows, um, as far as that is the technical, um, to that point. Uh, and it's hold on a second here. I just lost something. Okay. And you would pay that fee. Most of the time for us basic, and the funny part is we were using black and white cameras when we first started, and then we went into color. Uh Most of the time we would pay between about uh show would cost us between 50 to about $100 an episode, which wasn't too at 1980s. That wasn't too bad. When you got into multiple cameras, that's when the price just went up just a little bit more as far as that. And like I said, depends on the equipment, the type that you're using. Uh, Also, as the studio started getting more advanced equipment in, that kind of upped the price. But you were able to work with um, the studio heads to work out a price onto there, and they knew we were coming back week to week, month to month, year to year, and it was a lot of fun. I'll tell you this honestly, it was a lot of fun. Now, when you get, like I said, to the commercial part of it, the Channel J part of it, uh, those shows were also live as well, with the exception of certain ones. 'Cause some of them did it at other studios, or they had certain shows had like a place, like a room, like us. We would have like a bit of a room. In their case, they had a stage place where they were able to um, do their show. And the weirdest part, and like I said, the adult part of this was that you had certain shows that would tape ahead of time, which was there was a show called Ugly George. Now, Ugly George, if you're not heard, you could type this up and find him. I haven't heard from him since then. I heard he's still roaming the hollowed halls of New York. I'm not certain if that's true or not, but this guy was walking around in some sort of semi space suit with sort of like a space pack behind him. It looked like he had like a microwave antenna shooting out the back of his pack. He would carry a camera around, and he would invite women, uh, as they would call it, to the Polish penthouse. In other words, he would take them into hallways and stuff like that, and they get a little frisky to that point. No, not too, on there. He would get a bit frisky to that point. There was a point where they stopped on there, but a lot of times there was a lot of controversy on that because they said, that these were like not girls that were off the streets, that they were paid for, as you would say. But that was one of the things in there. But going into the other shows on there, we had Robin Bird, which I was very familiar with because that was out of the same studio we worked out, and she was great. She was nice. Now, if you're not familiar with Robin Bird was one of the stars in Debbie Does Dallas. She played Mrs. Something. They had that scene with her and Debbie Does Dallas. I get the names on there. But after that, she did a couple other movies, Silky and a couple others on there. But then she went off and created her own show where she showcased a lot of strippers. Just mainly was a lot of strippers. And then she did another one where she did a health show for women. It was like lifting weights and keeping yourself healthy and all that. She did that for a bit. She made some good money to that point, and also she had her commercials and stuff like that. That's where she really made her money. And she's on Instagram these days and Facebook. And she I think she lives on one of the islands out there, I think Fire Island or something. These days on there, and then of course you had Interludes After Midnight, which Saturday Night Live made fun of. Saturday Night Live made fun of it because it was the most one of the actually Saturday Night Live made fun of public access, period. And they were making fun of the adult shows, and they were making fun of the regular shows on there because we had psychic shows, so they were making fun of the psychic shows. And Interludes After Midnight was a nude talk show. Now you may say today, you have the nude news, you have the new type show, new talk shows and stuff like that. This came from back in the '80s because they were doing it back in. I mean, even Playboy was starting to do stuff like that. Excuse me. And basically, they made fun of it. I think was it Michael Myers? No, 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 it wasn't Michael Myers. There's somebody else doing it on there, and so I haven't seen that. I don't know if that is on. I have to look it up on YouTube if it's available on there, uh, on the SNL site. But it was pretty funny because the psychic one they were making fun of, it was like it was sort of a combination of two. There was one woman that um, the SNL actress nailed it on the button, and the other one, like they were doing was Starro on there. So we got to that point. But before we go any further, looks like we got a guest in the back, and let me bring him on. It's Mr. Sci-Fi Snob himself. Good evening. I don't know if you can hear me. Hello. Okay. Okay. We'll just let him come in when he can. But getting back to this, looks like he doesn't have his audio on. That's what it is. But the what is it? Oh, he's having audio trouble. All right. I'll put you in the back again when you're ready. Just let me know. Okay. So like I was saying, yeah. Okay. Like I was saying, yeah, they were getting the psychics on there, and then they were doing the new talk show. And the new talk show, I said the controversy on the new talk show was that the guy who ran it got in trouble. He was doing some real bad things. And what I mean by bad things, he got caught that he had some sort of, it looked like a church charity thing, and it turned out to be uh, girls for hire, supposedly, to that point. He did spend some time in jail and all that. That was the whole big controversy on that. Now, the big show next to the Robin Bird show was if you're familiar with Screw Magazine, that was like a big pop, which is back now. I believe it's back now. They're doing like once every other month under a new publisher. Um, it was a gentleman named Al Goldstein, and he had a television show called Midnight Blue, which was real. Actually, it was really good at the time. It was insane on there. One of his co-producers is actually here on YouTube, uh, not doing the same thing. But mostly it's a talk show to that point. Um, and I'm trying to remember this. Hold on. Yeah, he had a lot of guests. He had a lot of guests. It would have had like Blondie, Deborah Harry. She was on there. Penn and Teller, Gilbert Godfrey. What was it? Grandpa Lewis from the Munsters. So many people, and even people from the adult industry. Uh, a lot of things that made him famous. He did a lot of, talked about the adult industry. He had adult stars and showed like some scenes. And he went to the borderline like everybody else from there. Went on the borderline and basically, how can we say it? Basically, he was not well liked. Of course, he was driven down the drain after a massive lawsuit. He did pass away. I think it was about a decade ago, about 10 years. I think it's 10 plus years that he's been gone. But his show was popular. I mean, lot of good on there. And then he had the what was it called? The FU uh, thing that he did, which basically he talked about uh, certain products or certain. I mean, like even Trump, he hated Trump back in the day, and he had basically gave him an FU. 'Cause he would sit there, talk about it, talk to them badly, disparagingly, and then just go, "Hey, F you," to that point, to that. But yeah, that would be to what we went through. And some of it still exists, some of it doesn't. So don't be surprised if you're over at mnn.org and you see some things that you've never seen before. And let me tell you, a lot of guys that were there moved on to working at NBC, HBO, working for certain Hollywood studios, working for sports networks. This is the kind of people we worked with. They were good. I mean, some of the people we worked with, they went on to work with Cartoon Network for a bit. They did a particular show. I hope Sci-Fi Snobs out there he get his audio going on there. So we're still waiting for him. Oh boy. But let's go into this while we're waiting. Let me see if I can find the article. Oh, yep, there it is. Found it. Let me see. Share screen. Is it? Yeah. Well, since it is normally we have Taco Thursday at this point. Normally, I'm gonna show you this. Did I put the right one? No, no. Actually, we'll talk about this first. Now, with the popularity of Demon Slayer going on right now, Infinity Castle, which I believe it's already because it's not showing on the systems yet. It should be well over $600 million. And the other part of this is that with what's coming next, they're probably going to hit the $1 billion mark. But the first thing out of the gate is that Demon Slayer, they're pushing it for the Oscar, which hey, it's great. Give it an Oscar because it looked, supposedly it looks fantastic. I haven't seen it yet. Uh, probably because of my scheduling. I'll probably have to wait for it to hit streaming, which it won't be until 2026, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's right. If you're waiting for Demon Slayer to get on Crunchyroll, they're going to keep this going until 2026. And you'll have to go to I think the IMAX is ending soon. I think you only have like maybe I think this weekend is the last weekend it'll be on IMAX. It'll still be in regular theaters. You can catch it on there unless they get like a big number on there. But remember, 2 weeks in a row, it's been number one in the U.S. and everywhere where this movie has touched ground, sand, however you want to put it, has done fantastic. And going on to it, let me see if I can find it again. Oops, go there, and let's see. There is another part of it. Is that it? No, that's the hospital again. There we go. Share that one. Well, we got news. This is the important part, in which I said this is the $1 billion level on this, is that China has given the green light for Demon Slayer to be shown in the theaters in China. What does that mean? If it's anything like what has happened in Asia itself, this is probably is going to make it hit the $1 billion mark. Now, supposedly, it's supposed to hit China in a week or two. That's supposedly the rumor that it's going to be that. It's been approved that basically it's going to be that fast to hit China. So we're probably going to be seeing it, like I said, hit the $1 billion mark in the next 2-3 weeks. I would have to say, maybe sooner. Could be sooner to that point. Which would make the first, I believe, the first anime property to hit the $1 billion mark. I believe this would be the first one. And I mean, that's amazing. That is amazing that this can happen for a Japanese anime as good as Demon Slayer to basically get to the $1 billion mark. Hello, Hollywood. Wait, let me do this right. Hello, Hollywood, knocking on the door. But also, here's the other thing is that Netflix also there is going to be a live action. Now, I'm not certain because I don't know if the poster that they were showing was the actual poster to the point. If it is the actual poster, it looks like it is a Japanese studio that's going to be doing the live action. And basically, that it's supposed to hit Netflix. Now, Netflix supposedly is fast tracking this. How fast, I don't know, but supposedly the word is that they're moving this up for its popularity. You know, they want to cash in on the popularity of this. And you know, this is the thing. So many people have criticized anime for many reasons, including calling it pornographic. It shows that this is a movie, which was a TV show. Yes, it was violent. Yes, it had some fan service in a way on there. But the most important part of it is that it was a good story. The action was very well done. The animation was very well done. And basically, you know, you tried to criticize and bring it to the point that, hey, this is a bad movie because of the way it is, because of the way everybody's saying. No, stories can be told in many different ways. Animating it is a form of storytelling, whether it's for children, whether it's for teens, whether it's for adults. I've seen. I'm just now catching up with the rest of the summer lineup. Now, the summer lineup had some good stuff, and some of it I'm still finishing off on there. And let me just grab my phone here, and I could just look up some of the stuff here. Give you the actual names. Sometimes I forget the names. I don't even get the nicknames out, but so at least you can find them on what you are. Let's see. Whoop, nope, nope, don't turn it on. Nope, don't turn it on. Oh, I hate the auto turn on. Oops. Oh, plus the other thing I heard, Crunchyroll is going to be opening up a manga site, supposedly. there. So that's something that's coming. Now, what I've been watching, and for example, I've been watching Clevitas, which I believe it was the last episode. I believe I just finished it. I've watched it both dub and sub. Clevitas was pretty good. It was a pretty good concept to the point. I'm hoping that there's a season 2. The other one I just finished is a China. Actually, it's from China. Basically, it's To Be Hero X, and that one was pretty good. The animation was really well done because you had different scale levels, different scale levels of animation. You had one point where because one of the um, heroes is able to bend reality itself, which was X, the one they called X, and there were like all these other heroes and stuff like that that did things when they went into certain battles and stuff like that. They took it to a different animation. It's something similar to some of the stuff that's been on some of the animation they were doing. But this To Be Hero X, the music was good, the action was good, the story. It got a little confusing at point, but then when I realized the story, the story was at one point. The first, I think, it was the first 1, 2, or 3 episodes was meant to be later on in there because they were just introducing a certain character. After that was like everything was previous, and that was pretty good. When I understood that, then I was able to say, "Oh, okay." Don to Don, yes, that of course that finished off and was good. They already greenlighted season 3 on that. Didn't finish Kaiju number 8 on there. Uh, right now, I think I'm finishing up. I was reincarnated as the Seventh Prince, so I can take my time perfecting my magic abilities. See, that's why I have to look it up on here because you had these crazy names on there. Let's see. I didn't finish Night of the Living Cat. I have to get back to that. I haven't had a chance to get back to it. My Dress Up Darling. I have to get back to that also. So is Typo Original Sin. Uh, My Hero Academia Vigilantes. I did finish. That was good. Hoping for season 2. Uh, Wait, I've been killing slimes out. Yes, it is out. The next season's out. I haven't finished that one either. I finished the Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. I haven't started. I'm an evil lord of an intergalactic empire. One thing on certain animes, I'll wait a bit, before I really start them because they're just hidden in the background. I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time. Was good. I did finish 100 girlfriends. Headhunter from another world. Salaryman Big Four. Yes. Uh, let's see. Where else we got here? Going through a long list. I have like a lot of things in between that I just want to go back and look at. But that's on one end there. And what's to come? Oh man, there's a lot coming for the fall. And it just proves that, when you put your mind to something on a story, you'll be able to do it. When people tell you, "Oh, you can't do these type of stories because people, may not take to the stories." Bullshit. It's a story. Always remember, it's a story. You don't like the story, you don't have to watch it, you don't have to read it, you don't have to listen to it. Nobody's telling you to do it. Yeah. Now, just give me a moment here. I just gotta check on something, and I'll be right back in a second here. You'll hear me in the background. Mhm. Okay. All righty then. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, remember, if you're just in the chat, whether you're on Rumble, whether you're on YouTube, once again, like, share, hit that subscribe button. We really do appreciate it. Drop a chat. For those of you in the chat room, I do pick you up on both uh, Rumble and on YouTube, so I'll be able to see both of uh, your comments on there, which is very important to me. To that point, man, where is PB tonight? Normally, PB is always in the chat, uh, straight out of the bat on there. PB, if you're there, come on, say something. Oh boy. Let's see what else we got here. I was trying to save some of the stuff when some of the guys get here. Let me see what I can talk about. Oh yeah, I could talk about that. Yay! Yes, yes. Let me just bring this up real quick. Where is it? I just lost it. Let's see. Trump. No, that's not where it is. Oh, there it is, right on top. Share. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are Hulu subscribers, one of your favorite shows is ditching Hulu. Not for the last season, because I believe they have one more season left on this, but it won't be moving with the rest of the other. I think, what is it, five seasons on there? This will be season 6. Solar Opposites. And if you're not familiar with Solar Opposites, it's a really good. Justin Rowland. You know who Justin Rowland is? Rick and Morty. In fact, they've had to change the voice actors on there due to the issues that had happened. But basically, it looks like Solar Opposites is heading the way of Netflix. See, this is what I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that basically, you have a show, if they get yanked off of one streaming, they'll appear in another streaming site. And I'll tell you, this is a decent show. I mean, I've had my good laughs. Um, Nothing like "Praise to Be Space King," which is coming Saturday. Yes, that's right. Space King is back on Saturday. Can't wait for that next episode on there. But Solar Opposites is pretty funny in its way. The insanity. I mean, it's got that Rick and Morty humor. Supposedly, it is in the Rick and Morty universe. Supposedly, and yeah, we're getting a move on it, and this is what's happening. And curious that they're doing this move right before uh, the price increase, which Disney's about to increase Hulu as they merging into one outlet next year, which I know everyone's upset. My wife goes, "Up, time to dump Hulu," because she doesn't like Disney. Neither do I. Nothing worth watching Disney unless it's a lot of the older stuff. But still, if you have to deal with some of the shit that you're dealing with on Disney. But Justin Rowland, it's nice that they have this going on. There is one more season coming, so take a moment to catch them, whether it's on Netflix, whether it's on Hulu. You'll get a good laugh. It's good to sit back and watch, and crack open a beer and watch this show. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh, Death Angel Shadows. If you're out there too, if you're out in the chat, get in here. I don't know if he's out there yet. To that point, I've invited a bunch of people. Oh, there we go. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. What else can we talk about? Well, one thing we talk about, which is very important, is starting next week, and that's the 2nd of October. Taco Thursday will be returning for its season premiere as we talk more about anime next week. We got some good stories we're working on there. We are going to be a little light next week on Man Man with the show because we're working on some other big things. Also, the Taco Thursday. Plus, we're working on the finally deciding where we're putting Man Man Cafe. Now, so far, I have 3 different time periods to work on it. And why is this mic not saying? Hold on a minute. There we go. This mic is a little weird sometimes. Actually, it's the stand. Let me just adjust this. The balance was off. Woo! Ooh, there we go. Nice. I have to get one of those the movable arms. I mean, we the mic stand I have. Let me see if I can hit the camera for a minute here. I'll show you. See, we got one of these, and basically, it's not one of the flex ones. It's basically just stationary, and what this thing, I don't know, it just keeps slipping on its gear. So it's like, in other words, it just like keeps sliding downward. Even though I have it in a lock position, I have like everything locked down tight. It seems to open up, and I paid some good money for this because I had bought a set of them, and because basically you could mix this in and use it for lighting grids as well. Because back in the old place, I had horrible lighting. In other words, you basically you could see that how bright it is here. I'm not using any lighting, and already you could see I got some nice lighting. It's all, and that's from the ceiling light. I haven't even turned on the um, lighting grids because I haven't installed them yet. Because I was still working on the room itself. Like, for example, we're just finishing up in the other section that we're going to be working in for the Man Cafe show when we have guests in studio. And in here, we haven't even put up any of the bookcases. So we have like a rack, what do you call it, equipment's rack that needs to go in. It still hasn't been built yet. And then I have 2 more bookcases I have to build. One of the bookcases is for in here. The other one's for out there for the book because we have a lot of books. My wife loves to read. So I did one for her Sunday, and now I got to get the other one done, the other 2 done, um, and order another one. And we just furnished our bedroom. So basically, yes, we got some nice stuff to go in there. Finally, we finally getting organized. Thing is, we've been in here a year and what is it? Yeah, about year and 4 months. We're in here, and it took us months just to get furniture, just to get paintings on the wall, get some things done. And then, of course, what happens? My refrigerator decides to go, starts to make a noise. Now, understand, I didn't buy the refrigerator; it came with the place, and it's a fairly decent refrigerator. And I'm talking that it is a refrigerator, not like the current refrigerators that are going on right now. Now, if you're familiar, if you guys got like out there, if you got one of the newer refrigerators, we're talking like in the last roughly ten years. Um, like from what I understand from the workman and from my time in um, appliances and electronics, is basically they're not good. They're a bitch to repair. And basically, when something breaks down, you have to replace it. In other words, it's like the repairman I had hired to fix the refrigerator here, which was worth replacing, which was worth fixing it up, which ended up to be a fan, the fan motor. The He says, don't get rid of this refrigerator, just repair it. Just repair it. But for the money you're going to spend on a new refrigerator, you're going to end up buying a new refrigerator in 2 more years. Which I've heard that before. I've heard that from many people before because they've been dissatisfied. I mean, hell, you have what is it? One refrigerator now that basically advertises that it has it hooks up to your internet, and in the internet it basically what is it? I guess it just brings in a lot of the signal in to it, and it shows on the screens all these commercials and stuff like that. And people were complaining on that. But getting back to my refrigerator guy came in. The only problem, wow, the only problem is because he had to bring another guy in on this. Seems like the place we live in. I don't know who built it, but the refrigerator is like in a slot, and basically in that slot the refrigerator is tight in there. I mean, really tight. So they had to like drag it out carefully without pulling the wires and pulling the water wire because basically the hose. Because what we didn't realize when we got in here was that I think what was it? We were going for about almost 2 months and realized that our refrigerator had an ice maker in it. Yeah, it had an ice maker. Because we were going out for ice. It was like because we like ice in our we have cocktails every once in a while. I would take a nice Jameson's on the rocks, and basically realizing is my brother had stopped by over. And he says, you know something, you got an ice maker in here. I said, no, really? I got an ice maker. I said, let's just turn it on. So we turn it on, and nothing's happening at that moment. We don't hear it kicking on or nothing like that. We figured something's wrong with the wire, with the hose or something like that. So we pull it out just a bit, and then it started to work. But like I said, the workmen came in, they did the work, pulled it out. Took them about uh, once they got the refrigerator out, took them nothing more than about 15-20 minutes to install the new piece. Because literally, I mean, it was sitting there like at night going, and the thing is, we couldn't turn it off. Well, the reason is that my wife's medications were in there, and that means if we turn it off, we would have to take the medications out and figure out a way, getting some extra ice or something like that, and basically put it in um, some sort of container to keep it cool because it couldn't heat. You couldn't let it get warm. So at night, I mean, it would calm down at one point, but you would hear it going like that, making those noises. So now it's nice and quiet. It's working, knock on wood. So the rest of the house, there's some things we still have to get together. The dining area still needs a little bit of work. We just got to figure out chairs for the dining area. We have this beautiful marble table, a little high up, which it uses bar chairs. I can't sit in the bar chair. Just not the bar chairs they left us. Came with the house, and let's see that we got the picture in there. My wife wants lighting in there, extra lighting in there, but I'm not going to put lighting grids in there because it'd be. I would have to hire an electrician. I would have to get a COI because the condo board will ask for a COI. But I'll figure something out. I will figure something out. But we just got uh, the beds and tables for the lamps. We bought these beautiful lamps that were they look nice online, and they do look nice on the table. But I didn't expect the way they were built. They were built, you had to put everything together, including the lampshade. The thing that attracted us the most to these was like the way it was set up. They had this little wire that going in that made it look like you had fireflies in the glass itself below it, and it had a switch for it to turn it on and off. We haven't used it yet because we don't want it to burn out. Right? We're afraid of the burnout, but they're nice. They're really nice. They're like $80 on Amazon. Let me just grab another drink here. Hope Snob's okay. He said he had no audio. Ooh. Cam, I know you're out there. Come on in. And Jason Sci-Fi for me. Where are you? I know he's busy. He's dealing with his wife. Her health situation on that, and of course his show. He does a lot more than that, from what I understand. For those of you just tuning in, once again, I'll repeat the story of the top that the breaking news: Trump signed an executive order transferring TikTok to American firms. So it's something like a $15 billion, 14 to $15 billion deal. Still has to be certified, but looks like TikTok will be in the hands of American firms very soon. Will that make me go over there? No, no. It's to that point. I won't. Now, let's see. What else can we do here? Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, yes. I forgot about that too. Let me pop this on the screen. Oh, boy. Well, over the Aussies, and I always keep saying this: age verification, age verification, age verification. They're not going to stop at pornography. They're not going to stop at anime. They're not going to stop at manga. Well, it looks like because you have that 16 and under law now in Australia, which basically will kids won't be able to use uh, the internet. Now they're going after gaming, which basically Steam and Roblox, Discord, and others will be their child access will be restricted. Yes, that's right. It is going to be restricted in Australia. That really sucks. But of course, this is Julie Iman that's doing this, the ex-American, and she's doing damage over there. She's doing very bad damage, and she wants to do that same damage to here. That's a shame. That is a really, real shame to that point. You know, you have people like this that just don't really understand that you can't just go around willy nilly saying, I'll get rid of this, get rid of that. It will save the world. Doesn't work that way. The world doesn't work like the way you want it to work. There are things that'll disappoint you, obviously. People will say things you don't like. That's obvious. People will tell you that, ooh, how can I put this so YouTube doesn't like? that basically you can't be, let's say you're underage, you should be worried about situations about yourself other than, listen, everybody has their problems. Taking certain shots and hormones to change yourself isn't going to change your problems. Those problems will always exist. It's like, let's put it this way, it's like drinking. People are like, "Oh, I'll drink it, it'll go away. The pain will go away." It never does. You just keep going and going and going and going, and, it just never you never stop to that point. And what happens? Next thing you wake up with your face planted down in the ground in the middle of nowhere. But like I said, you have to take responsibility for your own lives. Now, those of you young under, if you're watching this show, which you can, up to a certain point. If you're under 16, you got to take a hold of your situation. If you can't, get some help, get some professional help, talk to a family member, talk to a friend, stay away from the stuff that says, "Oh, just take this pill, take this shot, you'll be okay." If you remember Pink Floyd, comfortably numb, just always remember that song. Hello, hello, is there anybody in there? But yeah, it's literally, what you're doing is you're doing it comfortably numb, or what you're doing is Clockwork Orange, the end of Clockwork Orange. What they did to Malcolm McDowell, had his eyes stretched out, like, no, I mean, I laugh, but it's sad. It's sad seeing what these people go through, these kids go through on a daily basis. And, at least back when I was young, some people were out there trying to help at least. The guidance counselor weren't just like, you were part of a machine line. They just basically, you were there and they talked to you. They see that, if you're, if you had the problem, talk, just talk, and they'll listen and, try to help you the best way you can. Even with education, our education standards are in the garbage right now. Used to be a point where teachers cared. Now I know some teachers, and they try to do the best they can with what they are able to get. We spent, it's something like, what is it? New York City does between $30,000 to $40,000 a year, maybe even higher, for kids in public schools. I've seen other towns and cities that spends less than $10,000 on kids, and they still is able to fund everything they wanted, and the kids got a good education. But this is what's happening. This is, you allowed the fox in the hen house, and this is what happens. You have all these insanity videos on there, and that's the other thing about insanity videos. Today, I don't know how YouTube will take this. You had that Tylenol challenge on TikTok, and I heard, and I can't confirm it, but supposedly somebody is tried this shit and is dying right now. Supposedly. Now, how true is that? I cannot get a confirmation or denial of the situation. But a supposed nurse that said it has happened, and basically, you know, this person may not survive and her child may not survive, or the child will survive and the mother will die. And the thing that gets me, the thing that gets me is that this this administration is going after that point, warning parents, be careful what you're putting in you. And the thing is, when you go get a box of medication, which is, ooh, excuse me, whether it's Tylenol, whether it's aspirin, something, it always says if you're breastfeeding or pregnant, please check with your doctor first before using our product. And now this supposedly it's going to be changed. Good, good, because we have a lot of drugs out there that basically has done more harm than good. I mean, I was on. I'm trying to remember. Was it, I can't even remember the first thing I was using when I had my lymphedema. Because basically I had my legs blow up like with fluid, and they gave me this one particular medication to handle the blood clot, but it just made it worse. And I just ended up hospitalized for a while, and now I'm back out and clean again. Legs are still a little bit heavy, but we're handling it. Now, I'm just gonna shoot off here for just a second. Hang in there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna be right back. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, see, I have a lot of things on the burner right now, and I'm just checking to make sure they're working fine, that they're okay. And you can see the thumbnail that we had. We just put up on the. I have to get the proper thumbnail up that it says we'll be right back on there. And yes, we'll have commercials also. We'll be working on that. Let's see what else. Well, we might as well start with this main story. And I don't know when anybody else will show up. I wanted at least to have at least one person with me talking about this, 'cause it is important. Let's see. There we go. Share. All right. As you can see underneath, our titles YouTube has admitted authoritarian Biden regime ordered them to censor Americans. This is one of those. Yeah, I kind of realized this happened, and this is exactly from the House Judiciary Committee, GOP, because the letter went to Jim Jordan directly from Google. And I'm just going to give you this breakdown of it. I do have the entire. Um, we have a video talking about this next week, and have the link on that, so do check it out on that. But I'm going to just read it off on this. Google admits censorship under Biden, promises to end ban of YouTube accounts of thousands of Americans censored for political speech. Today, thanks for the oversight of Chairman Jim Jordan, Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off YouTube due to political speech violations on topics such as COVID-19 and elections an opportunity to return to the platforms. Google also admitted to the following to the House Judiciary Committee. The Biden administration pressured Google to censor Americans and remove content that did not I repeat, did not violate YouTube policies. The Biden administration censor pressure was unacceptable and wrong. Public debate should never come at the expense of relying authorities. The company will never use third party fact checkers. European censorship laws target American companies and threaten American speech, including the removal of lawful content. Excuse me. These major omissions come after Chairman Jordan's subpoena to Google and years long investigation into the company. We've all said this. We've all said this was going on. People brushed us off and told us we were lying. This was not happening. It's your imagination. But yet, here we are, where we received, to that point. Now, what has been going on today? And since this has come out, well, from what I understand, there was it one particular site that did a a Brandon music video. 'Cause, that was under Biden. They call him Brandon, and it was banned at the time period. Now it's basically supposedly it's back. Now Tim Pool talked about this the other day, and he says he wants his videos returned, especially the interview with Alex Jones and several others that were removed from his channel. It's amazing that we tell you these things and we're just pushed away. Like how's it going? With guys says the aliens are coming. The aliens are coming. What was it? Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yeah, the end of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original. They're coming for you. Which they came for a lot of, and I'll tell you this: my channel here. I know I've been throttled back. I know that for example. For example, for those of you who are watching this, and probably on Rumble as well, the other day we were getting a lot of views. Today, I don't know what's going on. Normally, I have a lot more views. I mean, than normal on this, and chat's a little quiet. Why are you quiet, chat? Is anybody there? Hello, is there anybody in there? Ah, my God, I'm dying here. No, I'm kidding. Um, but that's what they wanted you to do. They want your channel to die because they didn't like the way you were talking, not the way everybody. It's like if you didn't like a particular movie, if you didn't like a particular food, if you didn't like a particular politician for what they voted for, they came after you. They did. The others, small channels, they just throttled you back and saying you're not doing good enough. You're not doing good enough. Meanwhile, one day, your videos are low, and then the next day, suddenly, you're doing a thousand views plus. It's amazing. It's really, truly amazing the things we have to go through every single day. And now we have a complete confirmation. Are we going to get an apology eventually? Well, from what I understand, the other half of this is that there are some people who's trying to bring back the channels and open up other channels, and that's a violation of YouTube's terms of service. So they're not being brought back. They put it this way: they had to get another channel because you took them off the air for something they didn't violate YouTube. They should be allowed to return. If you're allowing everybody else to return for political speech, you got to let everyone else come, even if they broke that they opened another channel on this network, which they were not supposed to do. But you had their hands tied. They like working here. They were doing their best to survive. Now, the other question is are they going to get paid? Those channels that are coming back, especially the ones that were monetized, are they going to get paid? That's the question of the day. For those of you who are watching and chatting along, if you are chatting, let's see. We're a little quiet. If you think, hold on a minute. Lost here. Getting used to this restream. I lost my train of thought. I couldn't even think there 1 second. But no, if you put to the point that you were wronged, that money is owed to you, how would you handle that? You think you're going to get your money back? Are you? They should be paid. They should be paid. Tenant Media. Look at them. They were accused of something that they weren't, and they've been vindicated, and now they're trying to get back on the air. Hopefully they'll be able to do it. It amazes me. It really, truly amazes me that Google has gotten away with this long. Now, what's going to happen next? That's a good question. Are there going to be fines levied against them? Who knows? I expect, because I already hear, because I did get I forgot which network it was. There is a YouTuber that is suing, that is going to sue. He was suing prior to this. And now that we know better to the situation, he's now taking this to the courts. And I don't expect them to be the last. There's probably going to be a lot more, those trying to collect on it. Hold on 1 minute. Oh, did I do that right? I did that wrong. Oh boy, I messed up. There we go. I say, getting used to these things. Yeah, Jason's right. When you're doing these mixes, you need a technical director. You're doing all these things at one time. Let me just see what's going on over in Rumble. Rumble, hello, anybody there? There anybody out there? Let's see. Yeah, we got some people out there. They're not conversing. But once again, those who have joined us over in Rumble, welcome. Subscribe, share, like, all that fun stuff onto there alone. We'll do this again here. Let's see what's up. Of course, we have our merch shop on there. Censorship tees, all available. VPN 10 at checkout gets you 10% off. That's right, 10% off for you, our faithful viewers. Yes, that's right. That's a nice shirt too. Looking at it on there, I have to order one. No, I haven't got mine yet. That point. Oh, gee, hold on a second. Hold on. Whew, that was close. Thought one of the computer systems was going into an update. Ugh. Postponed it, stopped it because auto update. It'll auto update and reset the computer, and it'll probably end up setting a chain reaction down the line, and suddenly I'm off the air. We don't need that. We don't need that at all. But let's see what is going on. I'm going to check here, see if there's anything breaking. Oh yeah. The other thing is, to the point. I can't even talk right now. William Shatner was taken to the hospital. I think it was early this morning. Get well, Will. You know, get well. I heard it wasn't that serious. I get because people say it was his blood sugar. He's saying he was overindulging, whatever that is. Was he having something that he shouldn't have, or whatever it was? To that point. But I'm glad that it's worked out to that point. But let's see what's going on here. As anything interesting? Let's see. Bounding into comics. Let's see. Oh, changeover at the Nintendo America. Let's see. Oh, here's something interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Benny Johnson is reporting this. Breaking news, and I guess it looks like James Comey is going to be indicted on 2 accounts of false statements and obstruction of justice. Let's see if we can pull this up a little bit. I'll give you the audio portion of it. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Just working on it right now. Whoop. Nope, that's not going to work. Oh, well. Oh, wait. Hang on. Why do I have that on? That's where my problem is here. Okay. I'm wondering why I have a double audio with my headphones. Let's try this again. Okay. Oops. Story we brought to you earlier in the hour, grand jury just handed down an indictment former FBI Director James Comey. The Justice Department accuses Comey of lying to Congress while under oath back in 2020. Let's bring David Sun. David, what can you tell us?
Well, Jillian, we are waiting to get the actual details of the indictment. We're just told that an indictment has been handed up against the former FBI Director James Comey. So I don't want to speculate on the actual charge yet until I see the paper in hand. That's the only responsible thing to do. But we know that James Comey, the former FBI Director, has been indicted. We're waiting to see if there's any sort of comment from the Justice Department.
Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. James Comey, former FBI Director, has been indicted breaking news. Well, we're getting a lot of breaking news this afternoon. First, TikTok is getting sold off, and now we got Comey. Well, actually, I think a lot of people were saying, what was it, about 48 hours ago, that this was going to happen, and I think a lot of people brushed it off to that point. So I'll bring it up on the screen here. I'm using two computers. Let's see. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a trick that we're going to try to accomplish here. Hold on, let's see. No, we don't want it from them. Let's see. Let me bring this up. Hold on a minute. Let's see if we can share this. Okay. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to bring this right off. Ooh, we're able to get it.
Breaking
All right,
tonight,
let's
the
see if we can
Justice Department is considering charging former FBI Director James Comey with lying to Congress over testimony before a Senate panel in September of 2020. Correspondent David Spott has the breaking story from Washington. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening. We're told a grand jury in Virginia is looking at evidence relating to allegations that former FBI Director James Comey may have lied to Congress on September 30th, 2020. That date is very specific because the statute of limitations for lying before Congress is typically 5 years. Next Tuesday marks exactly 5 years since his remote testimony. He was in Virginia at the time. It was during the throes of COVID. It's unclear if a grand jury will vote to indict Comey. The grand jury has the option to say yes or no to an indictment. As to be clear, as we speak, Brett, he's not been indicted and he's not facing charges at this moment. This is all up to a grand jury. This latest development comes just days after President Trump publicly pressured Attorney General Pam Bondi to move forward with charges against Comey, Senator Adam Schiff, and New York Attorney General Letitia James. Schiff and James were mentioned by Trump for unrelated mortgage fraud allegations. They also have not been charged at this moment. Trump wrote, Pam, I've reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially, quote, same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done, end quote. Trump then went on to suggest that Bondi appoint Lindsay Halligan, his former personal attorney, to become the U.S. attorney for the Eastern.
Well, I guess we got that. Oh, we got that incoming. Oh, boy. Just when you thought it was safe to go on back on X, and then you find out they're about to make some indictments on there. Let's see what else is going on here. Talk about puberty blockers. Yeah, South Park marking the FCC. They're doing Brendan Carr. Let's see what else here. Actually, New York Post is already saying he's indicted, and it's probably why we're a little light tonight with chat, because I guess that was coming out at the time we were going on air. There are so many silly people. Before I got Ricky Berwick is in Florida right now. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny on there. Nope, there's not much else going on. Oh boy. Once again, subscribe, like, share. Especially if you're over on Rumble. I really do appreciate it. And what else can we talk about tonight? Let's see. Anything else? I think we pretty much went through mostly what I wanted to cover tonight. Like I said, I was hoping we would get some backup tonight, but looks like no. So let's talk some other things. Ugh. Now, one thing I've noticed is the video game units are going up. Now, for those of you who are gamers out there, yeah, it's a bad time. But I'll tell you this. If Microsoft thinks that, raising their prices, will still get the same people coming in, they got a thing coming. It's called a PC, Microsoft. You've been working with them a long time. Unless that's what you want to do is drive people to, buy more PCs and play video games on PCs. That's a that's a possibility in itself. That's what I'm doing these days. I do have Xbox 360, Xbox One. I don't have the newer one. I didn't buy the newer one. Um, but for a while I didn't play for more than 2 years. I believe it was to that point. Between my illness and then, of course, nothing that interests me. And then, of course, this whole major move to a new place. 'Cause we're gonna move it on up to the east side. No, uh, you know, and hey, there's PB. About time. Where were you, PB? I was hurting in here. Nobody in the chat room tonight. Felt like I was talking to myself. I know there was someone popping in and out. A couple other people on Rumble to that point. How are you tonight, PB? If he answers back to that point, let me just switch into chat mode here. There we go. I don't know if I don't know how far you were listening into to the point we were talking tonight. Because they just had, I don't know if you noticed that James Comey just got indicted. I guess for lying, because he's a liar. Oh, you're playing Star Trek Fleet Command. Oh man, I haven't played that in a bit. I mean, I'm playing I've been playing Call of Duty 6 right now, currently. I would have played that on the system if I had it hooked up properly. I could have played that a little bit while waiting for someone to jump on. But I don't know if you, like I said, you've been watching Star Trek Command. Yeah, we reported a couple of things. We reported Trump signed an executive order. Crazy NYC. Yeah, I'm in New York. Remember, I'm in New York too. Trump's just signed an executive order for the purchase of TikTok over to several companies, which will probably include Rupert Murdoch, the Ellisons, and Oracle, and I think a couple other people. And then just now, James Comey just got indicted to that point. So it's oh boy. I mean, is it raining by you? I don't know if it's raining by you there. I always keep forgetting to hit that button there. But PB's doing right. He's playing Star Trek Fleet Command, you know. And I would assume that's on PC. But yeah, like I said, that's what I'm playing these days is PC. And ooh, hold on a minute. Here we go. Comey, Tish James, Adam Schiff, etc. Indictments are great, but meaningless without jail time of all of them. And Schiff needs jail time. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Letitia James, I think, is on her way out. Honestly, I mean, her popularity is starting to reduce here in New York. It's especially with everything that's been going on. I mean, on that uh Hillary that we'll never see. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Actually, I was talking to my wife the other day about that. I was talking to her the other day that yeah, never gonna see it. That would be to a point where something. Let's not put it this way. This is the YouTube gods get mad. That basically, uh, someone will pull an Al Capone. You know how Al Capone would handle it. Oh boy. But yeah, no, like I said, Tish James, I see, I see her on the way out, and I think this is gonna kill. She's gonna milk it to the end. Excuse me. She's gonna milk it to the end for the reason is, she's stubborn enough to say nothing's gonna happen to me. Nothing's gonna happen to me, darling. Let me tell you something. All these guys will throw you under the bus to protect to protect their hides and use you as a sacrificial lamb. And that's what's going to happen. Tish is going to be the sacrificial lamb that they can look back and said, "See, we were able to indict somebody." That's what's going to happen. And not from the Republican side, from the Democratic side, because they're going to end up burying her, and it says, "Well, she shouldn't have done it." They're going to start flipping as they always do. They're going to flipping, 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 flipping. That's what we do. We're going to continue flipping in praise to Space King. Oh boy, on there. I don't know, PB. Did you also hear with the YouTube situation that they admitted that the Biden administration was manipulating the YouTubers? I don't know if you heard that. Probably you did on that. Oop, wait, I just lost everything. Holy crap! Hold on. No, there it is. Gotta watch where I put my mouse. Just going through X right now, seeing if anything's been updated. And what does that say, PB? Hold on. Hang on, I'm on the wrong screen. Comey made. Oh, there it is. Comey made all the lawfare against President Trump happen. He needs to see jail time. Tish James actually the mortgage fraud she accused Trump of. Yeah, it's she was doing all this stuff. The difference is between what she did um versus wait, hold on. I wrote the wrong one. Okay. What she did versus what she accused Trump of. Trump didn't really do anything because he didn't do anything wrong. And that's the thing most people don't realize. The banks were dragged into it and they were like, well, he didn't do anything wrong. We would how's the point? We would basically do business with him and he pay us back with interest on time Nothing wrong here. And you say, so I'm not a conspiracy guy, but Tish James, Alvin Bragg, Fannie Willis were the worst, was the worst, and they all share a certain trait. They used to, as attack dogs, just say, no, PB, these were what you call DEI hires. And of course, because they were DEI's hires, they basically did what they were told. They said, go after Trump. Because that's all it was. It was a fight to go Trump, 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 get Trump, Donald Trump. And that's all they believed in. Nothing else. You're here in New York. Look at the crime situation here in New York and how it's being handled. For those of you out there who are still with us right now at this point, if you're watching on Rumble, you have to understand the point. If you're in New York, crime is not being taken care of, not properly. And you put to the point that all these people, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, everyone that's been working on there, and this has nothing to do with the police department. The police department has their hands tied. They bring the guys in, immediately they're putting them back out on the street. And this is what's been happening. Facebook, Google, and now specifically YouTube wouldn't have come clean about the president Biden censorship without the Twitter files coming out. Obviously, PB, obviously, thanks to Elon. Oh, praise Elon. Praise to be Space King. What else you say? Trump literally did nothing wrong as regards to mortgage valuation. The appeals court specifically said the president did nothing wrong in the mortgage. Yeah, but they have to go further on that. They need to wipe that out completely. That whole case should have been shit kicked into the sun. Because if he did nothing wrong, then basically he should not literally, be charged with anything. This case is over. 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 To that point. And what else you say? Eric Adams is the worst mayor in a lifetime. Dinkins ran the city into the ground, but de Blasio and Adams destroyed New York City. Yeah. I don't know if PB, I don't know how old you are. I don't know if you remember, because I was telling my wife the other day. I remember the big thing with Dinkins back in the day was that he bought a $6,000 headboard with New York money. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if you remember that situation, because at that time period I was doing shows um, out of New York. I was actually I don't know if I could find it. That's the thing. Damn it! I wish I could find it. I do have a quick interview with the mayor of New York, and that was Ed Koch back in the day. And see, one thing about Ed Koch, for those of you who are too young to know about Ed Koch was sort of could you say a white version of Eric Adams? Could you say that in a way? I mean, Koch had somewhat of a swagger situation, but he was a little bit off the handle. See, when I interviewed, actually I didn't do the interview myself. It was one of my guys that did the interview, and this was at a street fair, and we tried to talk to him about things going on in the city. All he could talk about, because at the time, this is where I was living. The place where I lived was the Third Avenue Festival. This was in the 20s on there. And we saw him. We ran with the camera. We ran over to talk to him. And he was over at this restaurant that was at the corner of this Greek restaurant, which was, oh my God, it was fantastic food. The Greek restaurant itself roasted a lamb, literally on a baster, a whole lamb. That sucker was so delicious. To that point, I can remember that place went out of business. It became an Indian restaurant, but when it was open, it was so great, and that's what the bear was there for, to have have some lamb. And he went into the whole thing with the lamb, and then he went into what was it? Some shaker. I'm trying to remember some drink that he went into. And yeah, how am I doing? They go, to the point, and he goes, "How am I doing? How am I doing?" If anybody, oh yeah, because Mayor Koch was a media personality, but he did turn the city around. And is famous. How am I doing? Well, PB, he didn't do that well. He had some situations in there. You got to remember, it's with was it Bean? I think it was Mayor Bean. Was it before him? You had situations when you got out of the 70s, I mean the 60s into the 70s, and then into the 80s. A lot of issues were going on. I mean, we just got in the 80s. We just got Reagan into office, but New York was not at its best. It was at its worst for that situation. And Koch was there at the time, and we were just uh, we had some hard times in the 70s, late 70s. But, we had yeah, A Beam. Yep. That's yep. That's who I was growing when I was born growing up, and he was mayor of New York. Um what was I gonna say? We just came out of Son of Sam. We had the worst summer ever because we had the blackout, the summer of Sam. The summer of Sam was, if we had a major serial killer out there at the time. He was shooting women, couples actually. He was shooting couples with a specific color hair. And let me tell you something. One thing about this serial killer, women were changing the color of their hair because this Berkowitz was going after a certain type, as far as a certain color and all that. And women was just literally uprooting themselves and changing their hairstyle or wearing a wig. That was crazy at that time period. But getting to Koch, New York wasn't the great. Yeah, Lindsay bankrupt New York. That was the whole thing. Yeah, that's when they told us to stick it. When New York cried for help, we you know they told us to stick it. Bean had to save the city. Koch had to bring the city back. Trains were the yeah, jungle and constant blackouts year round. Yeah. If anyone to tell you how rough it was, New York City was. And they say these days it's rough. Yeah, it's rough. It's bad right now. It was different in the 70s and 80s, considering what we went through. It was not only the upper class, it was the middle class, the lower class. We all had issues in New York. It was rough. Subway smelled like piss, vomit, whatever, the worst smells you could think of. You would find liquor bottles all over the place, prostitutes walking up and down the avenues as soon as it got dark. I've said this before on another episode of Man with Show. You had the girls soon as the night came, it was like vampires. It was like, get inside the house. The vampires are coming. It was just like the hookers are coming. Yeah, and this. Oh yeah, oh yeah. This was the worst of them all. The blackout. This was like the garbage strike. We had a garbage strike. PB, do you remember how many weeks that was? It ran for a while. Just wait for a minute here, because I know it ran. The smell, the rats. Oh my God, it was just They just kept piling them. And see, the thing is that today, if they would have a garbage strike, those garbage cans that they have out there wouldn't survive them because the pileups were. All you gotta do is look for the pictures for that time period, and you'll see it was like piles upon piles. And the things we were still using metal garbage cans on the street, so you had metal garbage cans at the bottom. And I remember my mom was at that time period. My family was superintendents um, of the building we lived in. So, like, my dad or my mom, other parts of my family, we would come down and basically take out the garbage, and we just kept piling it on, totally piling it on. Mayor Koch gets a 50-50 reputation, but he brought New York City from the gutter to the finish line. Dinkins had to cross the finish line, but he threw away a lot of the work Koch did. Yeah, there was certain things that Koch got done. It's like, how am I doing? How am I doing? You know, I'm trying to remember what they used to think of Dinkins because there was a bit that we were trying to do, and someone else capitalized it. Was it Dinkin Donuts? Dinkin Donuts. It was like was a bit we were trying to do, and I think someone else cashed in on that. And basically, it's just Dinkins just putting it out. What kind of job am I doing? And Koch would come from the background going, um, "How am I doing? How am I doing?" On there. Yeah, and we also had a bus strike. Yep, there was a bus strike in the late '70s, and at that time period, there was no such thing as sharing cars or anything like that. Nobody wanted to share. I mean, mostly we used cabs, but the outer boroughs were screwed so bad. I mean, the only thing I think the ferry was running, so you were able to get from Staten Island to Manhattan, and there were other smaller ferry lines that were running. And there was a school bus strike too. Yep, that's right too. So you had the MTA, and then you had the school buses. It was we took it. It was like what was it? It was like Clubber Lang in Rocky 3, where Rocky was getting like freaking punched hard in the face. That's what it was happening to New York. It was literally Clubber Lang was like beating the shit out of us. We took it hard. Yeah, you're right about that part. Yeah, the mayor in Ghostbuster was a parody of Koch. Even got three-quarter bald head right the whole way of his talking. Yeah, and that was the thing about it. Like I said, right, we interviewed him, and when we interviewed him, that's he just wanted to talk about everything else other than the politics. Egg cream, that's what it was. He loved the egg cream drink, and basically he talked about where he could get the best egg cream around, and he talked about I got oh I have a slew of videos in storage at my mom's house. I need to have someone bring those here because I know I gotta have that interview still. It's probably still on VHS or no, it had to be switched to beta. Yeah, I probably the original master. I don't even think we have anymore. I think that deteriorated, but I think the beta one still has survived. But we're gonna have to look into that on there. But yeah, he had that type of quality. But Dinkins came in, roughed up onto there, and I remember going to see Giuliani at that time, and that was when his kid was like a kid, his son, and I had just got back. One of my friends that I went to, who was actually one of my partners in the show, which we had on public broadcasting. Public access. We had gone to see him in Queens, and when we got back to the city, we were going to my friend's house, my friend Tommy's house uptown. We saw him going into the Chinese restaurant up there, and I go, Tommy, it's it's Giuliani. Giuliani's in the restaurant on there, so it was nice to see him directly on that. Yeah, Marriott greenlighted the TNT program for the NYPD, and the uh, first in the nation crack epidemic started here. Yeah, 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 yeah. Have you ever seen New Jack City? That whole situation? Yeah, that literally was New York City at that time period. The crack, because we had the crack problem. It was a major situation, and of course, we had the AIDS crisis that ran back to back with that. And that was the thing, and most people didn't realize is that they went in hand because you had a lot of people that were in pain from the AIDS, and then basically, they were toking, they were toking the crack. President, let's see, President Reagan said crack was a national emergency in '86, but we were dealing with it citywide in '82. I heard the first term crack cocaine in 1980. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. The media did not grab onto it till well into the mid '80s. It was literally on the streets, and it's insane. It's totally insane. Hold on a minute, just 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen. I just got a message here. Let's see. No, nothing important. Uh, but yeah, no. I tell you, yeah, nobody picked it up till middle on there. That was the thing. I think they could have held it if they picked it up earlier. By the time crack spread to every other city in America, it had already been cleaned up by 1991, which slowly came back over the next few years. But also remember, PB, what was the other thing in the 1980s that was a big problem? Which we have the same problem today. Do you remember? Started about 1980, and it started in Miami, and it ended up in New York. Can you remember what was the big thing in the 1980s on there? Miami to New York? Mariano boat lift. If you remember the Mariano boat lift, and people said, "Well, that was in Miami. It was all Cubans in Miami." He said, "Well, here's the thing on that. Well, besides the heroin, no, the heroin was the other thing. No, it was the illegal immigration situation, which is the Mariana boat lift, which put people on the streets of Miami, which they ended up scooting their way up into New York. And heroin, coke, yeah, yeah. And you had people that were coming up here, creating havoc to the situations that oh boy, it was just a bit insane. When you look at what's happening here today, and you say to yourself, we could have stopped this. They said yes, but still made the same mistakes we did in, yeah, the Cuban. Well, actually, it was the Cuban refugees and the Haitian refugees. Most people don't realize is that, yeah, and basically most people don't realize when they hear Mariana, they think it's just only the Cubans. What happened was also Haiti took advantage of the situation of the boat lift, and people in Haiti decided to scoot in as well. So you had a big mixture, but most of them floated up to here. But see, thing like I said, they thought they could stop this at the situation. Hold on, let's see. But they couldn't stop it at all because they did not at that time period. They did not have enough police on the streets. Now, what Miami did is that they changed their hiring structure on how they hire police officers. This is why we have the situation where you see a lot of cops out of shape because most of the cops in the country, most of the police departments in the country, change their parameters. Yeah, Jamaican drug gangs that was NYC, Boston, and Miami. Yeah, exactly. We had all of that going on. I mean, they literally, and I put it on, and I've had this on Madman with the Show, and I ran a video of it of a newscast back then. They had New York NYPD had a task force dedicated to just going after um, these criminals, and to the point where you know it was just literally insane. I mean, the crime was through the roof. Like I said, these late 70s, 80s, you know, between the drugs, the gangs, the crime, everything all fell together. And boy, I tell you, I see it rough now. And you know, this could have been avoided. What we're going through now could have been avoided. Could have been completely avoided. Trenda Agua and all the rest of these guys. This could have fucking been avoided. But no, we had basically situations where you have our politicians who didn't give a shit. Didn't give a shit at all. And of course, that's what caused the situation. I mean, they finally closed up the hotels at that point. I remember when Papa Doc and Baby Doc were overthrown in, what was that, 1986? And Haiti had become a lawless to this day. Clinton put Aristide in power, but he was deposed and had to be rescued by the U.S. military. Yeah, but you got to remember, Clinton still had, even after that new leader, they still have the Clintons still have their hand in Haiti. It hasn't changed at all, not one bit. And especially on the, I think was it was it the north or the south? Because I know that what is it? Hillary's brother. I think he's part of the has a control in the what is it? The cell phone business or the telecommunication business in the country of Haiti. I don't remember the fires, but Harlem and the Bronx look like war zone on TV in the 70s. Yeah, they were. There's a great movie out there with Paul Newman. Is it Paul Newman? Yeah. Was it Paul Newman? I think it's Paul Newman. It was called Fort Apache, the Bronx. If you want to know what it was like being a cop in the worst, yeah, it literally looked like Gaza. The South Bronx was like Gaza. I mean, you see it in there. Actually, in the early episodes of Law and Order, during the Mike Logan episodes, you could see um, some of the places that New York, how bad New York was still at that time. And this is much, much later. Yeah, Fort Apache, the Bronx. I agree. If you haven't seen it, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. To the point. And mostly underrated. Hold on, my mic stand just fell again. Mostly underrated. A lot of good action. And I still to this day, and I say this up, is that hooker still in the carpet roll? Still, because there's a hooker in the movie that was really insane. You know, she was one of those hookers that you did not want to deal with. Because literally she was just batshit insane. And for all that she did, she ended up getting killed and wrapped in a carpet and thrown in the middle of the freaking um right in the middle of the Bronx. And, like in a building that was already collapsed. They just threw it on there, and that's where it stayed for the rest of the movie. See, when my dad took me to Yankee Stadium for games, it looked like a war zone to me. I was I was at Reggie Jackson's first home game. Yeah, Reggie Jackson, such a great baseball player. Yankee Stadium. Every trip was an adventure to me driving through. Yeah, for everyone it was, and to go see. Let me tell you, it was well worth it to go see Reggie Jackson. For those of you who do not know Reggie Jackson, he was the man at the time. They gave next to you know uh, a couple of the earlier players, they gave Reggie Jackson a candy bar because he was just that darn good. I mean, he won several runs. I'm trying to remember how many home runs in one game that in the World Series. He literally won the game for the Yankees. The Bronx always seemed like another world to me. No offense to anyone who lives there. It was another world. It was literally another world. You didn't go there at night. If you went up to Harlem, and the thing is that I started working on the border of Harlem in because I worked for a hardware store chain. I think it was 85. Was it 84, 85? Somewhere around there. I was in high school. And basically, they had a store on 96th Street. You didn't want to be caught dead there after dark. So, the boss always got me out of there as early as you can to that point. Yeah, I used to eat Reggie bars as a kid. Yeah, anybody. Those were great Reggie. Supposedly they're still around somewhere. Someone's still manufacturing them, not in mass production, but I think there is like a specialty candy store that you can still get them from. But it's never in stock most of the time. But some people can get lucky, they get them. Yeah, he was the only man to hit 3 home runs in a single World Game Series. That anyone, everyone out there that's still watching, go look for this video. If you could find the entire game, watch the entire game. This this was baseball. This was fucking baseball. I mean, holy shit, this was a game. The only one that did to the point was when the Mets won the World Series. And the thing about it is when the Mets won, it was that year that basically they were behind. When you hear the stories, well, they're behind by several games. They ain't gonna make up those games. The Mets did. Took it to, where they just literally, you know, tied it up and then ended up winning the World Series. Now with the New York Yankees, this was like major, major at the time. To see this happening, people lost their mind. Yes, and everybody had a Hess truck every year. Yeah, and that's the other thing that has, that's the funny thing. Of all the things in the world that has endured its lifespan, the Hess truck is still out there. That's the funny thing. They may have changed things around, but oh my god, that is just that is just one hell of a situation. That the Hess truck is still out there, there. Yeah, that was the '77 World Series. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, if you've never seen it, one hell of a this is what you know. You look back at sports, you look at basketball, you look at hockey, you look at baseball, you look at soccer. You could narrow down some of the best stuff that has ever come out of any sports line. Of course, you can link back to Jordan and Jordan era, and even before that, the Celtics era as well. And then you Pele with the Cosmos and soccer. Of course, and like I said, Reggie Jackson in basically baseball. Some of the best stuff. Joe DiMaggio in Sanka Coffee, yes, Sanka coffee commercials and the Bowery Bank. The Bowery Bank. Oh my God, you are throwing stuff at me, PB. Bowery Bank commercials and stuff like that. Hey, PB, do you remember what was the name of the company? They used to say, "Is that the story, Jerry? Oh, that's the story." If you remember that, I think I forget. No, it wasn't Crazy Eddie, but it was something else on there. I forgot what company it was. I don't know if it was an electronics company, but that was like that's the story. There was always that's the story, Jerry, which was some crazy commercials back then. I mean, you had some crazy gimmicks. You know, let's see, that was 1977, 1978, 1981 World Series. But the Angels beat us in '81. Those bastages, those you fargan bastages, LOL. Oh boy. Oh, those were the days, PB. You know, we'll never see things like that ever again. Times have changed. Yeah, I have to look it up. I'll have it for the next time we do it. I do a live feed. Um, that to the point. Well, we get into 8:30, and I guess nobody else is going to be coming in. So basically, I'm going to cut it off at this point. PB, thanks for showing up. Snob, thanks for showing up. I know you could something was wrong with the power. I really do appreciate it that you came down at least on there. And Death Angel Shadows, I'm going to find you. You promised to be here. But before we go, let me go one more time. Uh, be sure, check out our CutieCast shop CutieCast TV, uh, VPN 10, and you'll get 10% off of your purchase. Got some great shirts in there. They're all anti-censorship shirts. And of course, we do have our Man Cafe shirt out there. And yeah. What was the other one he's saying? Roger Grimsley, Bill Butel, Chuck Scarborough. Yeah, when I finish it, I'm going to say something on the Chuck Scarborough. Yeah, before I lost myself. Yeah, shopcutiecast.com, 10% off onto that point. Also, don't forget to share this video, like, such and such, subscribe. We really do appreciate it on there. As far as the Chuck Scarborough thing, I had a friend of mine who was tutelage under Chuck on there. They went on there, and he went on to work for NBC affiliate up in Monticello, and now he's acting. He's doing pretty good for himself. TV actor. He's done some nothing like really major. He's done some like B-rated movies. He's worked with some decent actors on there. Nothing the big. I know he did a movie with Goldberg. one of the action films with Goldberg and a couple other guys on there. He said he had fun with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. We really do appreciate it. I figure maybe next week this time, but instead of 6 p.m., we're going to be doing 8 p.m. And we'll see. We'll try it out, see what happens. But remember, next week, a Taco Thursday returns to this spot, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube and on Rumble. We'll return that next week. We're going to be a little bit light in the schedule, but don't worry. Man with the Show will come back fully in the following week. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, PB, on there. Was that Sue Simmons, Katie Chong? Were some of the few women in the news. Yeah. Have a good night. We'll see you on the next one.